Hey y'all, it's in Dub's electronic workshop, and today we're going to be putting a new faceplate on this gold controller here today. So to start off with, we're going to need some tweezers, and it doesn't have to be the specific type of tweezer, it could be any kind of tweezer. The next tool we're going to need is something to pry with, because we're going to need to pry the edges of the controller. And then finally, just a regular screwdriver, just a Phillips head, nothing too crazy. This is the plate we're going to be putting on the gold controller today. It's just an orange neon clear face plate, and this controller has a little bit of damage on it, and on the back we're missing 2 screws, and we have scuff marks from being thrown or slid across something. And also right here we have some prying damage from somebody attempting to take the faceplate off before me. So let's get started. So right now we just need to take off the 4 screws on the back, which is pretty easy to do, especially for me. I only have 2 in right now on this controller. So you're just going to want to take those screws out and place them somewhere you're not going to lose them. Okay, and after you're done taking out those 4 screws, we're going to start prying the edges of the controller. On my controller, you can see that that edge has already been pried up, but on this side, you're going to need to get in between the two pieces of plastic where it kind of meets, and just push up on it. Try to get in between it and push up, and it should pop right up. And if you're having a little bit of trouble, come down to these bottom pieces where I am at right now and just kind of push up like I was doing, and it should just pop up. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to be super careful when taking off this back plate, because as you can see there's this ribbon attached, and all you have to do is just grab the ribbon by the base and just kind of pull up just ever so gently. It's not a very hard cable to take out, and then the whole back plate should be off of your controller. At this point, we're going to be taking the battery out, and it's just another simple little plug. Pull at the base and just take it out. Sometimes there can be a little bit of a sticky tape there, so you might have to pull your battery out with a little bit more force than I had, but everything should come out the same. Now sometimes, as you can see, I'm screwing this screw out. On different types of PlayStation controllers, you don't have to take this screw out first, but on mine I had to. And then you're just going to take that battery holder out. Again, it varies from controller, but it could be a little bit harder for you to take that part out. Just pay attention to where it latches to on the circuit board, and you won't have as much trouble. So now this is another cable, just like the beginning one, and you just kind of want to pull with the tweezers, just kind of shimmy it out of the thing. You don't have to unplug anything besides that wire, and I'm just bending it back a little bit so it's easier to feed out of that hole that we're about to do. So now we're just gonna take the body of the controller apart, and you need to make sure that that wire doesn't get stuck right there, or you could damage the wire, which is no fun, and then you wouldn't have a really cool touchpad to use. So just make sure you're careful when you're doing that. And now we're left with the faceplate itself. So we're going to start taking things out of it, to start with the touchpad, and you just kind of wiggle that out of there. And now we're going to work on the silicone pads. So all you have to do is just simply take those silicone pads off, all 3 of them. And now you're just going to take out the buttons. So I took out the D-pad first. And at this point, I'm going to be using the tweezers to take the colored buttons out and the PlayStation Home button, just because it's a little bit easier for me to pick up. Oops, I accidentally put that one back there, but that's all right. And now we're left with a blank canvas. So this is what an empty faceplate looks like. And now we're gonna start putting the buttons back into the orange faceplate, which seems self-explanatory, but it's actually a little bit harder. Whenever you're putting these colored buttons back in, there's these little plastic pieces that stick out the side of the button. As you can see, I'm having a little bit of trouble. I'm kind of just spinning it around in there. But you want to take the fatter piece of plastic and point it towards the center of the like the intersection where the buttons are. And you have to make sure those are seated all the way down so they're not spinning around and they're actually in there correctly. And also make sure that you're just putting them in the right place in general, because it's a little bit confusing going backwards. And I'm also just putting in the D-pad. It doesn't really matter which way you put that thing in. And then also the PlayStation Home button. So now with these pads, I didn't really show it here, but obviously there's 2 sides to it, and you want to make sure that the flat side is the part that you're looking at. So whenever you put it in, like, the buttons will still be able to register it's being clicked. And also you want to make sure that the silicone is placed right, so that the plastic pieces, those little circle dots, are poking through the silicone just a little bit. They're not gonna be there to just fill. And also make sure you're putting the right silicone in the right place, because this one is a little bit more boxy than the other one, where the other one is a little bit more round. And I'm just pressing it in there and making sure that the plastic pieces are through the little holes. And here I'm just showing you a little bit more in depth. And as you can see, that left side is more circular than the right side. And here I'm just putting in the PlayStation button pad, and this plastic faceplate was a little bit weird in this spot, and it didn't really fit, but I kind of just squeezed it in there, and it still works how it's supposed to, so we're all good there. Now we're just going to put the touchpad back, making sure that that wire is on the outside of the plastic part there. And now we're going to put the body back onto the controller. This part is a little bit tricky just because you have to feed the wire through the hole it came out of. Sometimes using tweezers here can help you a lot. But in this video I make it look a little bit easy. It's not as easy as it looks. It can be hard sometimes. So now I'm just going to plug that wire back into the hole that it goes into. And as you can see, there's this little line on the wire, and that's about how far you want to push it in. And I'm about to show you right there. Yeah, it wants to be flush with that connector. So now we're going to put in the battery holder before we screw in that screw again. We're kind of just working backwards here, you know. And make sure that you're taking the silver long screw and you're putting that back in the right place. And now you just want to take your battery and make sure the prongs are matching up with the prongs in its connector, because if not, then you're going to be messing up a battery, which is going to cost you a little bit extra if you mess that up. So you just want to pop it in there and push firmly on the connector like that. And just put the battery in its holder, making sure it's snug. And lastly is I think the hardest part of this entire thing, and it's connecting this wire back into the controller. So this part is kind of hard for me to show, so I'm sorry that I did not do a better job at it. Sometimes using tweezers can be easier in this case. I tried to do that at first, but this time it just didn't work out for me. But what you really want to do is get that connector all the way in so that the gold reflective pieces are just sticking out barely. And of course I gave up with the tweezers right there. And now I'm just sticking it in there, just making sure that it's not kinked or anything, so I don't mess the thing up. And you can see, just kind of wiggle it in there. And as I was saying, the little gold piece is sticking out just a little bit, but it is seated correctly. So now you just want to clip the controller back together, as I'm doing now. Make sure all the points that we had pried on before are clicking. And now the last and final part is to put back the screws. And after we screw those screws in, you just want to make sure that the controller is working and it powers on correctly. And as you can see, there's no cuts in this video, so I just wanted to emphasize how easy this can be to do, because me being a PlayStation owner, I really like that I'm able to customize my own controllers like this. So if you want to see more of this, go ahead and like and subscribe. And here I'm testing the controller works. Yay! Alright, I'll see you later. Bye!